Hi, I'm Blake, and I have over 15 years experience window tinting, and I'm going to show you some of the tricks of the trade, starting with tools today, and what window tint to use, and how to do it. Tools we're going to need, you're going to need for sure the little sizzler. It's a pink little tool. It's a detail tool. You have your Blue Max squeegee. This is going to be for squeegeeing out the water. This is very necessary. This is your yellow contour tool. It's going to be used for edging the bottom and the sides and the top. This is your brown triangle tool, and it is going to be used for tucking the tint in the below the gaskets to make sure everything looks perfect. These tri-edge tools are more detail side and just touching up. And then you have your Olfa razor blade holder. This is going to take care of your cutting needs, and your stainless steel Olfa blades. Now, it's very important to use stainless steel Olfa. They're top quality, they do a good job, and you want to make sure you don't use carbon because it will cut glass. Now you have your single edge razor blades, and these are going to be used for cleaning the windows where there's not defroster lines. So you're going to use these to clean the side windows, but not the back window with defroster lines. And then for the defroster lines, you are going to use a glass safe scrubby pad from Home Depot or Lowe's. And then I like to use the Palmolive Ultra Strength in the water for installing. So the solution I use for installing window tint is just pure tap water, and then about 20 to 25 drops of dish soap. And this all depends on how hot it is. So if it's cooler, you need less soap. If it's hotter, you're gonna need a bunch more. And for the back window, these are the back window installation tools, these three. This is very necessary. This is the bulldozer. It's gonna help you get to the bottom of the window after you squeegee everything out with the Blue Max. You have your side swiper and a miscellaneous corner tool. And over to some of the other tools, we use the blue paper towels when we're touching it up to absorb some of the water, and a Wagner heat gun. And this is gonna help us shape the window tint on the curved back window so that we can get a nice fit on the back window, no bubbles. Okay, so this is the 8% window tint, and what that means is 8% lets in 8% of the light. So it's considered the limo tint and the darkest shade, and it's a very high quality window tint. And then that's going to be used for the back and the two sides. Now for the front two windows, we're going to use a Supreme 15%. So it lets in 15% of the light. So it's considered the dark. So right here I'm using a scrubby pad, glass safe, to clean the inside of the window before I do the tint. That way I can see any imperfections and get it all clean. So I spray on the soapy water. I use Palmolive dish soap, and then I scrub down the back window with this, and I look for any imperfections, and I also squeegee it all down so all the dirt runs all the way off the window. So here I'm going to spray on some more soapy water to get the dirt to run down, and then I'm going to take my Blue Max squeegee and clean it real good. Now I may do this a couple times if needed. If it's a brand new car, you know, once will probably do the trick, but here I am. I noticed a little imperfections, so I did a little more scrubbing in that spot. But you want to make sure it's a glass safe one too. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, a lot of different places. And it is almost done. So now that the back window is clean and wiped down, I'm going to get the tint and I'm going to pull it across the back window. Now this is Supreme 8% and solargard brand. And then as you can see, it's a little windy right now, so wind can be tough. It's kind of the enemy of the window tinner. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull it across and then I'm going to cut off a tiny piece of the tint and I'm going to use it like a sticker. I'm going to take the protective layer off. I just took it off with my teeth and then I stick it on the window and now it's stuck on there and the wind still can be a little bit of a bother, but as I trim it off, it's going to be easier and easier as I go. So I'm just doing a little bit of a harder part right now, and see the wind stopped and I put another sticker down, and now I'm about to start trimming it. Now you only need to do the glass part, not the black around the edges. So now I'm just going to cut the other side off. Careful not to cut the roll or the car. And now I'm going to stick down this side as well. So now here we're about to start the shaping process. So I got my Wagner heat gun, I got my glove, soft linen glove, and so when shaping right here, you're only going to shape the top and the bottom. It's a heat shrink process. You're not going to shape bubbles that are coming from the side. So right now I'm using it and I'm going in small circles. You never want to stay in the heat gun in the same location in one spot for too long. And you also want to evenly shape as you go along across the top. You don't want to have one giant finger coming down. So you're gonna shape it little by little going across until it's all completely shaped. So it's just shrinking the tint to the curve of the window. So that way when it goes on the inside of the window, it fits perfectly. As you can see, I use my glove a little bit to tighten the shaping process. You could do it without the glove. And yeah, it's coming along good. Just takes a little bit of time to do it. So this is the top right here. And as you can see, I still got taped down so the wind doesn't affect me. And it still has a clear protective layer on the outside of the tint. So most likely anything you do to it at this point on the outside is not damaging it. You're just shaping it unless you crease it. Other than that, and as you can see, all those bubbles are almost gone now. I'm on the last bit of it and just tightening it up. A little bit more to go, and then I'm going to move on down to the bottom. Getting all the little spots. Now you don't want to melt the tint by holding it there in one spot. That's why I always am doing little circles with the heat gun. As you see, never staying in one spot. If you stay in one spot, you'll burn a hole in the tint. The heat gun's not that powerful. It's not real powerful. It's basically a glorified hairdryer, but it works. It works good for what I need it for. Now, just doing the same thing, shaping the bubbles on the bottom, but not on the sides. So I move them over so they're all evenly about the same size, and then I work them evenly across the window. Now I only have about the bottom 3 inches to shape, and all the fingers are that same 3-inch size. Keeping those circles, still doing those circles, not getting the tint too hot in any one spot. Getting a nice clean shape job. And that's a nice feel. And now we're going to move over to the other side of the car and continue over there. Okay, so now I wet and cleaned the side of the car down, and I wet the side and I stuck the tint to the side of the car. I usually like to take the clear protective layer off on the inside of the car, but the car is so tiny and I don't have a garage right now, so here I am starting the corner, and I peel it back a little bit and wet it, so that way I can start it real quick after I wet the back window, and just getting it prepared to move it to the back window to squeegee it and install it. It's all cut and shaped, looks perfect. And getting ready here. Okay, so I'm spraying down the inside of the window. I scrubbed it down, I squeegeed it down, and now I'm just getting it really wet. It's a warm day, and the wind here is my nemesis, my biggest nemesis when doing outdoor window tinting. So I'm going to try to do this real quickly as to avoid getting any dust or pollen underneath. Now every single window you tint gets some tiny, tiny imperfection you can see with a magnifying glass, but we just want to avoid getting as few of those as humanly possible. So here I am. I wet it all down so the tint can't stick to itself. That's really important when it's this windy. And here it goes. Now, as you can see, the wind's blowing around a little bit. That is a little undesirable, but it's working out so far. I'm just being careful not to crease the window tint right now and to get it down there as quick as I can without damaging it, so I can squeegee it all out and make sure it looks perfect, getting as little dust and pollen underneath it as possible. As you can see, I have a little struggle going on right here, just sticking on. Sometimes this happens when the window's almost vertically upside down. Sticking it on can be a bit of a bear. Now here it is. I got it all on, and now I'm squeegeeing it out. I also wet the tint when I'm doing this, and it came out good. So it got all on there, and I kind of move the bubbles with my hands to make sure there's no big bubbles as I'm squeegeeing it out. I don't want any large bubbles that could crease as I'm squeegeeing it. So I'm just slowly going about getting all the corners, getting all the water out. What you really want to do right here is get all the air out. So there's air and there's water, and I want to get them both all out. So this is my first squeegee. I'm actually going to go over it a second time after I squeegee it all down once, just to make sure I get all the water out. But on a warm day like today, it's about 85 degrees. It's going to dry up pretty quickly, and it looks good so far. No creases, very little pollen or dust underneath the tint, even though it's outside. And you'll get to see some more pictures of video of it here shortly. And I'm just slowly going about it. See how I just pushed it out? Oh, dropped my squeegee down there. This is a wet job too. As you can see, I get water in places, so you can put some towels down. That's very helpful. And keep a second squeegee in case you drop one. because that does happen. Now the back window's all been squeegeed out, and I'm just cleaning the outside of the window, and you're going to look for any white spots. That would be air to push out, so I'm just cleaning the outside so I can look for any tiny imperfections that need detail work. Use those detail tools with, but it all looks really good, and there's a little reflection coming off it. It's a bright day, but as you can see from some other angles we'll show you shortly, came out beautiful. It's just a hatchback window. Now I am going to install the quarter window tint. Now this is pretty easy, so I just cut and I shaped it on the outside like a perfect template, about a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch bigger than the actual glass was. Now I squeegeed it down with soapy water and I sprayed it down again, and because once you take that clear protective layer off, it's all sticky. So I spray down the sticky side so it doesn't stick to itself. I stick it on as gently as I can, careful not to hit anything, don't want to get any dust or dirt behind the tint. And now I'm going to squeegee it all off. This is probably the easiest window on the car. It's just so simple, it's so small. You just cut it out and then stick it on. No shaping necessary, and just make sure there's no light showing. And if it's not wet enough, you just add a little water like I'm doing. Make sure it's in the right spot. It's looking good. Gonna re-squeegee it. And alright, we are about there. Now I'm doing the other little quarter window. Now I put it on, now I'm just squeegeeing out the water, actually cleaning it. And now I start getting the clear protective layer off with my teeth. That's what I'm doing right here. And it's kind of the quickest way to do it. Sometimes it doesn't come off real easy. You can use a fingernail or whatever tool you like to separate the protective layer from the sticky side. And then once I do, I wet it immediately, and be very careful what that sticky side touches. If it touches anything, you're going to get dust or dirt behind the tint. And now I'm using a little detail tool to kind of go around the edges and push out any little excess water and looking for any imperfections, and it looks good. And I'm going to clean the inside of the side windows with one of those flat glass razor blades that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So I take it out, and these are glass safe. I mean, it's almost impossible to scratch glass with these, but they're great for taking anything that's stuck on the window, especially a little sticker in the corner or a little excess dirt that's kind of stuck on the window. So I wet it all down, and I be sure to cover every little inch and look at it and make sure there's no dust or dirt, because if there is, it will get under the tint. And I kind of work from top to bottom and cover that sticker area. Here I'm taking a sticker off right now, just working it off slowly, and then I get the glue off. You want to make sure to get any glue whatsoever, and stickers.
Oh wow.
And now that's clean, it can be installed.
Yeah, 10-year-old car in general. I didn't even realize it. Totally forgot until like.
Here we go, installation time. Pulling out that Supreme 15% of solargard, and I'm going to pull across the window, and I'm going to line up the bottom because the bottom edge is straight, and the bottom edge of the car is pretty straight too. So I don't need to cut that if I line up the bottom. I'm going to make sure it's past the edges, and then I'm going to trim some of the excess off here. Now after I set it in the middle so the tint doesn't move anywhere. That's really important. And now that excess is gone.
Now, the key when trimming the top
now,
is to keep
this
the
is the tricky part.
Angles
not too tricky, but you want to do a nice even cut across it. And how you're going to do that is you're going to keep the bottom edge of the razor blade always pressured down without lifting it off the glass. And you're going to get nice cut, clean, perfect edges, even all the way across by just running the top of your razor blade across the top of the window. So that's how I did it, and my cameraman gives me a thumbs up. Good job.
And
Now I'm going to cut the one side right here, and I'm just going to put my pink tool up along the side, and my razor blade is actually going to run on the glass. The pink tool is just holding the razor blade to the side of the window, and that's how I make sure I'm getting light. Now this is what you call trimming the ears. You're just going to trim off the little corners and make it even with the same shape of the car.
just to keep it
So I'm just making sure it's all perfectly straight. So I just line up my tools. Sometimes I round an edge a little bit, get corners tight down there. And same with here, you got the little ear. I'm just rounding it to the same shape as that top corner, so it's not straight. There it is, looks perfect. Same with the bottom, I'll round it a little bit. That way when it rolls up and down, it doesn't catch on anything. And now I'm going to go for the shaping process. So I'm going to wet it all down. I'm going to take my Blue Max squeegee out to shape it. And I'm going to put all the fingers, we call them fingers, that need shaping at the bottom of the window. So now I'm just pushing all the water and getting that shape I want it to be. And then you see those fingers right there. Kind of look like them. Now I'm getting my heat gun. And I'm just going to do those small circles again. Not putting too much heat in one spot, but this is pretty easy. This is part of the simple process. And put a little heat on it, push it down, a little heat, push it down, and pretty soon that dry shrink process shaped the tint to the same curve of the window.
It's all flat, so now it can go on the inside.
So now I'm preparing it to put it on the inside of the window.
Start peeling the extra layer back.
And I'm starting the corner so I can easily peel it off.
Now I'm going to squirt soapy water all
and now I'm going to spray the whole inside of the window, and I'm going to use my blue squeegee to squeegee off any dust or dirt that's hit the window since I last cleaned it. This is a really clean job. And now I'm going to spray more water here, lots and lots of soapy water. Like I said before, about 20 to 25 drops of dish soap. It's a warm day, it's about 85 degrees. Squeegeeing it a second time just to make sure it's extra clean. I don't want anything under the tint. And here we go. Doing it again. Now I'm preparing to... Now I'm going to do this really quickly because as soon as that protective layer is off the tint, any dust or pollen can stick to it. So I peel it off real quick. I get it nice and wet. And then I'm going to just grab it by my fingernails, just barely grab it, but tight. And then I'm going to pull it on over and stick it on so nothing else can get underneath it. And I'm going to leave about a 1/4 inch gap all the way around. Now any more than that and it could peel off the window from when you go to roll it up and down. So you have to make sure that the tint does not overlap the side or the top. There has to be a gap. Now as for the bottom right here, I'm running my gold triangle tool under there and I'm pushing back on the window a little bit. And I'm pushing the tint underneath the gasket of the car. Now a lot of people remove gaskets when tinting. This is really not necessary and not needed, and they're really adding a lot of work to themselves by taking off door panels. I've been a window tinter over 15 years and I never take door panels off ever. It is not necessary. You do not need to do it. The tint does not need to go 4 inches underneath the gasket. Nobody can see it as long as it goes past below. So now I'm going to continue squeegeeing. I set it in the middle so it's all perfect. All the edges are tucked in. Now I'm just going to squeegee out the water. And it's looking good. Got to get all the air out, got to get that water out. Now the water is going to have to evaporate on its own drying process. Water has a tendency to gather and then evaporate. So even after I push out all the water, there'll still be more water that needs to evaporate. Now I have some fingers at the bottom, so I'm using this yellow tool, one of my favorite tools, to kind of just run it across and get rid of any bubbles, fingers, get the edges all nice and clean and perfect. Excellent. Now I'm using a paper towel and I'm kind of running the yellow tool and the paper towel underneath the gasket to absorb water, because sometimes fingers come up from the bottom and they bring dirt with it if the car is especially dirty, if the gaskets are really tight. So I'm cleaning it right here. It looks good. Just absorbing the water, pushing out on the edges. The paper towel also protects the tint from getting scratched. Now I'm just wiping down the outside. I'm looking for any white spots, any imperfections, anywhere where I need to make sure the tint's tucked in, and also fingers at the bottom that need to be absorbed with the blue paper towel and that edging tool. And I'm also looking at the edges, making sure they all look fine. But it looks good, and things dry up quicker in the heat. So usually you can tint a window a little quicker in the heat if you know what you're doing. If you're a little unpracticed, a little cooler weather is easier. And I'm just absorbing a little more water here, make sure no fingers pop up. Looking at the bottom. Coming out good. Now I'm going to heat the bottom a little bit, but I'm not going to put too much heat in any one spot so as to melt rubber gaskets or anything like that. And as you can see, I parked the car under a tree so as to get a little shade, keep it a little bit cooler on this hot day. If you have a garage, carport, that works great. And looking at the edges again, just going over them. And look like that little corner needed a little heat, make it dry, make it look good. So I'm just going to edge that corner. And let's move on to the next window. So now I'm going to repeat on the other window. I'm in the shade under the tree, and I'm just going to do just like I did on the other window. Cut the perfect template on the outside, and then I'm going to stick it on the inside. Now it's a little windy, so as you can see there's a little bit of a struggle sometimes, but the main thing is you just want to keep it from creasing. It's like a piece of paper. Once you crease it, you can never get a crease out again. You just have to start over. So the way you hold the tint, you just want to be careful with it, or the film. But I'm just going to trim off a little extra here. And then I'm going to set the middle. After I wet the top, wetting the top helps keep it stay on the window when it's windy. There we go, it's set. Now I'm going to run my razor, keep it pressure down on the top of the window, and just run my razor across the top, and it's cut. And the side. And now I'm going to cut the little ears in the side. And just trim it, make it look perfect before I put it on the inside. And my friend's pointing out some imperfection on his car, where he did something to his car. Great job. Now I'm going to readjust it to shape it so the bottom's not completely touching. the bottom of the window, and then I'm going to start at the top and start the shaping process, push down. I always keep it wet when I'm doing this. You want to have it wet because if it's too dry, you could crease it. And just a little bit of heat, push it down, little heat, push it down, and keep going. This is pretty simple. It's not hard to do this. It's a lot easier than the back window. And just shaping it to the curve of the window. Getting all those fingers. There they are. Now I'm going to get ready for the install on the inside of the window. And there's the wind. Likes to get me just the right time. Gonna get the corner started so I can easily peel it off when I'm ready. Make it really fast process. Want to keep that sticky side exposed to the wind as little as possible, as short a time as you can. So I squeegeed all the dirt and dust off after I've already razored it. Alright, now I'm just wetting it down, squeegeeing it, cleaning it, getting it ready. And as you notice, I stopped what I'm doing, and that's because of the wind. I like to wait till the breeze stops and as to make sure I don't get any dust underneath the tint. That's kind of one of my little tricks. And here we go. I'm going to take off the clear plastic. Now you see how fast I do this. I am just trying to avoid any extra dust and dirt. I get it on here real quick. I put it about an inch from the bottom and then I move it down. So using enough soap's key to that so you can move it. If you put the tint on the window and it won't move, you just don't have enough soap in the squirt bottle or you're not squirting enough water. And I'm going to set the middle now that I have it just in the right spot. 1/4 inch gap all the way around the sides and top. Except for the inside where the black gasket is. I'm going to tuck that underneath the gasket. It's very important not to leave any light showing. The only place there's a gap is on the top where there's no window edge. So right here, I just pull the rubber gasket back, I tuck the tint underneath it, and I sometimes push out on the window a little because this makes the gasket a little less tight. So I'll put my shoulder into it a little bit and pop, voila, tint just squeezes right down in there. And I'm going to start squeegeeing right here. And I do it evenly. I start in the middle and then I work my way out. You don't want to end up with one big finger in any one place because that's how you end up creasing it. So you want just little fingers, and then if it needs heat after that, you just add a little heat to it. You run your edging tool over it, and voila, the bubbles are gone. And this is my edging time, so I'm just running my yellow tool along the edges to get any bubbles, any fingers, any air. Make sure it looks perfect from the inside, and then after I don't see any imperfections on the inside, then I go and I wipe down the outside of the window and I look to see if there's anything that needs to be touched up, any imperfections. If you have something underneath the tint, you can pull the tint back still and then get rid of any imperfections. You have about a 5-minute window when installing window tint before it really starts sticking. If it's cold weather, you could have 15 minutes if it's real cold. If it's real hot, you could have a little less than 5 minutes. So it just depends on your weather and what you're doing. On hotter days, I use more soap in my squirt bottle. Colder days, I use less. It's important to get the ratio right, so it's going to be in between 15 and 25 drops of dish soap. And you'll really know if you got it right just by if it slides or not, or if it slides too much, too little. You can really feel it out. The first window you'll have a good idea, and then the second window, you'll have it down. And I'm just touching up some tiny imperfection, maybe pushing out a piece of air. It is hard to see because it's pretty small. Yep, more edging, just making sure all the edges sit real flush and nice. And just giving a final squeegee, make sure I get out as much water and air as I possibly can. And I'm just doing this window tinting job at my home for a friend, and you see my two dogs coming along right there. Wiping it all down. And I'm just wiping down the doors, drip marks, that kind of thing. But it's soapy water. There's no bad solution here. Just don't want to leave the car a mess. So I'm going to do a little detail work. Now to my favorite part, where I get to show off my final job. Now here's the final completed job. I wiped the doors and the windows, made it look all clean, and that's solargard, screen 8% on the back 3, and then 15% on the front 2. And it came out great. It's a Hyundai, and it's a little hatchback. So I didn't have to get into the back seat to do the rear window. It's a little different than some other cars, but you just want to keep in mind what I told you here today, and this will help you get it done. Take it easy.